Welcome back to another video. My name is Emmett Enyart, and in today's video we're going to go over the top 7 biggest match sets that I've ever found. And I've been shed hunting probably like 7 or 8 years. Found some good ones over the years and you'll see them right here, so let's dive in. We'll start off with number 7 for the match set here. Come take a look. So in the very first video I ever posted on YouTube for shed hunting, this was part of that shed hunt, and I found this shed back in 2019, and this is off of the buck that I call Bottle Opener. The only reason I call him that is if you look at his brow tine here, it's really cool. It's almost like you could use this as a bottle opener. It's super fresh, so you can still see the blood there, how the blood's right there, and the full wax ring's right there. So I'm willing to bet I found it within days of him dropping it. I looked for the other side, couldn't find it, and then ended up giving up on it. Really good mass here. This side scored 66 and 6/8 inches, so it had 4 scoreable points here, but it actually would have had another point right here. But obviously he busted it off. So that was the one side. Then just last year when I was shed hunting, I found the other side. I stepped on it. I could not believe it. It was honestly like 100 yards from where I found the first one, but I missed it. It was just laying under some native grass, where this one was laying underneath the cedar. So this one scored right around 67, this one scored around 70, so that puts it at 137. I mean, when you put that on the head, I would think that it'd be about a 16-inch spread. So you're looking at about 153-inch deer. But that is measuring everything that's broke here. So I don't know what the full main beam length would have been. I don't know what the G4 would have been. I'm missing out on 2 tines right here, and there's a tine that would have been coming off here. So I mean, I think this deer very well could have been north of 160. Kind of a cool story to it, how you find it 4 years apart. And you'll see these shed tags here on it. I use those to tell me like where I found them, year I found them, and also like I've been writing the score on them. If you want to get some for yourself, well, go to my website, you can buy some there. But that's not what this video is about. That's the number 7 match set. Let's go take a look at number 6. I was looking out here in the corn, I saw a couple paths, and then I looked right down in front of me. Right there. Look at that, right here on this path, coming out of the timber right there. Look at that stud. The end of his main beam looks like a stinger right there. And this is the most picture perfect sight I've ever seen. Look at that sucker, that stands out clear as day. The shed I found off of Stinger was his right side, and that totally looks like it could be his left side. We're only about 300 yards as the crow flies from where I found his other side. Here, moving on to number 6 here. It's off a buck I call Stinger. The reason I called him Stinger is I found his first side here in 2021 in February. It was on a snowy day, not a day that you would expect to find a lot of antlers, and I got lucky. It was laying on the field edge. Came back in March and actually found his other side not too far from it. What we got here is we got 6 scoreable points on his right side with the split brow tine, and then his other side just a really nice 5-point side. 69 and 1/8 is what I got on the right side, and then 70 and 1/8 on the other, so that puts it at 139, and then you put about a 16-inch spread on that deer, you're looking at a 155-inch deer. Even though the other one, like I think if it had all of its points intact, it would score more than this deer. Just with how I have to score it right now, how the antlers stand, this is my 6th biggest match set. But really cool. That looks like a hog. Let's go check it out. That's gonna be a hard one to beat this year. Look at that base. That's worth taking off 10 hours of work on a Monday for. So I just found a big bone, and I don't know if it's from last year or this year. That's the other side. Go! Likely be the biggest set from this year. This one's chewed up a little bit there, and there, but not enough to take away from the integrity of how big it actually is. What a beautiful set. Moving on to number 5 right here. I don't have history with this deer, but I just called it Pancake because it's really cool. This one's like lays so flush with the ground when it lays down. Like, look here. So I just call it Pancake because it lays flat. But it's got some really nice bases to it. Some nice brow tines on it here, and they were laying about 50 yards apart from each other. The left side here scores 69 and 6/8 inches. Right side scores 70 and 6/8 inches, so you average those at 70. This is on a farm that I only could shed hunt, so I didn't run cameras. I'm gonna guess this deer was pretty tight on the head. It's gonna be somewhere around that 155-inch mark. Pretty close with Stinger and the bottle opener buck. The right side actually had 6 scoreable points. You can see it has a nub there that's just about an inch. They were down for a while. We found them in probably mid-February, so I'm guessing he dropped mid-January. Pretty cool buck right there. This one right here, it's a really cool set. Found it back in February of 2017. Just a little bit sickening though, all the chew marks and whatnot, but I couldn't help that. It was my first year shed hunting that farm. And I saw one of these antlers laying down under the cedar thicket from a good ways out, and I didn't have the binos. I'm like, I don't think that's an antler, it looks like a stick. Well, I was like, nah, I'll just go back and look closer. So I actually walked up to it, and I was really excited to see that it was not one antler, but two. But unfortunately, they were from years past. I reached out to another guy who hunted that farm, and he said that there was a double drop tine deer that was killed a couple years before I had permission to hunt. And he thinks that these would have been off of that deer, but he didn't have any pictures of it. Looks like the type of deer that would have been a magnum the next year. The 7-point side, the only reason it's 7 is because it's got that little nub. It's 77 and 1/8. It's got a nice brow tine on it here. It's got a nice drop tine, nice G2. The other side, if I assume the main beam is the same length, this one would have scored 64 and 2/8. And this one probably would have had a 16-inch spread. So you're looking at like a 155 to 160-inch deer right here. It's my 4th biggest match set. Some of you might think that's a little bit surprising for how much I do this and how many miles I walk, that we haven't really even broken 160 yet, and that's my 4th biggest match set. But it just goes to show that there's not monster deer around every corner in Iowa, like some people like to think. But we'll go over here to the number 3 set that I actually didn't find this one. I was right there with my dad when he found it, so it's worth showing in this video. Easton, you want to show these ones?
Sure. My dad found these ones, and we actually got another set off these, which is our number 1 set that we found. The right side was 74 and 4/8, and then the left side was 74 and 1/8, so around 75 inches. With the spread, it would be around pushing 170, I'd say. But yeah, they were very close to each other, about 20 yards apart. This one has a very thick brow tine. We call this one Cobra because of that brown tine. Really cool. You don't see that in a lot of bucks. Found this relatively early. In 2018, we found these ones.
Good deal, good deal. That's number 3 set. That's off a Cobra from 2018. Just found my biggest match set of the year. Holy cow, you gotta see these. Oh man, that's an absolute monster. And we just got started. It's pretty cool. I found these a week, or not even a week, it was like 4 days after Dad found that 2018 Cobra set. So it was like 3 days later, I walked up on these. Took a day off of school because there was a snowstorm coming in. We were expecting a lot of snow. And there was a farm I really wanted to shed hunt because I wanted to beat some of the other guys that like to shed hunt. It was about an hour after I got there. I was walking around the edge of this pond. I come up out of the pond and crest up into this top of this field that was like used to be an open pasture, but it had started to have brush and native grass growing up. And right like up against some brush, there was these 2 antlers laying right next to each other. And it was really cool how they were laying. The left side's got 6 scoreable points with a wicked looking flyer off the 2. It's got really nice mass to its main beam, and it's got a long main beam. So this left side scores 76 and 6/8 inches with 6 scoreable points. The right side here scored 78 and 5/8 inches with 7 scoreable points. It's got 2 nice flyers off its G2. And then when you look at this one on the head, I mean, it's probably 18 inches wide. So we're looking at somewhere between 170 to 175 inches for this deer. It's got some really, really good mass here at the end of its main beam. Obviously that doesn't get represented in the score. It's also got really thick tines. He definitely wouldn't have been busting them off. And so for the history with this deer, well, it was on a farm that I could only shed hunt. So I found these in February of 2018. He sold the farm that summer. I'm happy I found his antlers. I don't really have much more to say about this deer. So that's the number 2 set. We'll go on to number 1. This is my biggest shed. This is the biggest shed I've ever found. It's 88 and 5/8 inches. It's got 6 scoreable points, an unbelievable brow tine, a really nice G2, G3, G4, with some serious palmation between the 2 and 3. Main beam is pretty dang good. If I remember right, it's somewhere around 25 inches, so it's a really good main beam. And so what happened was, we were shed hunting a spot that's got some unique circumstances. It's considered public hunting, but it's only open to the public 2 days a year for shed hunting. Long story short, I went in to shed hunt it, the first of the 2 days that you could shed hunt in 2017. Walked all day, didn't find much. We're walking back to the truck to leave, and down in the bottom where two nice valleys meet together, down in the base of that, there was an antler I could see sticking up, but it was sticking up on its side. At first, it didn't show how as big as it really is because all you could see was just the G3, G4, G5. But once I picked it up, we realized how big it really was. We had 30 minutes of daylight left to look for the second side, didn't find it, and then we had to wait a while until the second day that year to go back in and look for the other side. So the second day came around, went real close to where we found this shed. My dad ended up actually walking a spot that I had walked earlier in the day and found his other side. And his other side, really nice antler, but when you compare it to this one, it's just not quite up in that same size category, but it's still like 74 and 6/8 inches. Really nice two on it. It's nice and bladed. But when you take the two of them and you add it up, you got about 88, 89 inches on this side, 75 on this side. You could probably put a 16-inch spread on that. You're looking at a 180-inch deer right there. That's an 11 point. The first day that we found this one, we went and looked in the spot where this one was and didn't find it. And so I think that this deer was still holding this side at the time that we found this one. That was 2017. That's when in 2018, we went in and Dad actually found these. It was the same circumstance where we could only shed hunt 2 days a year. Well, the first day that we went in there, it started snowing and we were about an inch of snow on the ground. Dad wanted to go check one of the best spots first because of the amount of snow that was coming. We wanted to make sure that we spent our time wisely there. And it was funny because I actually stepped on an antler. When I stepped on the antler, he called me up and said, "Hey, I just found the side off of this deer." I didn't believe him because I was just like, that seems so surreal for that to happen that quickly. Coincidental that we both found an antler at the same time. And then he calls me up and says he found the other one. Not too far, but it took about 30 minutes to find them. The two from 2017 were probably about 300 yards apart. This set was about 100 yards from where the second shed was. So he had his winter core. Both of his right sides, back-to-back years, scored the exact same. There are some slight differences. I'm pretty sure that where he was shedding his antlers was just his core during the winter, but not necessarily where he was spending most of his time. He ended up getting shot over 1.5 miles from where we were finding his sheds. Yeah, that's Cobra.
That's going to conclude this video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please make sure to hit the like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and then hit the bell so you can be notified when we drop more videos. Shed season 2025 is right around the corner, and hopefully we start finding some. Until next time, I'm signing out.